Welcome to the August 24th, 2026 Bend West Side Duplex, Triplex, Fourplex market report. Let's see what is happening in the 2 to 4 unit market on the west side of Bend. Now, as you might know, the west side of Bend is the side of Bend that has fewer of these types of properties. So our overall data points are fewer to have, but it's still valuable, in my opinion, to have a look at what's happening within these properties and see what the averages of the numbers are. So here in August of 2024, we have 3 properties in the duplex, triplex, fourplex category that are currently active. When I look back at this report from May, so what is that, 3 or 4 months ago, there were 6, and I look back at the report from a year ago, there were also 6. So our overall inventory of active properties in this category on the west side specifically at this moment in time is less, I mean, half what it was these last couple periods that we're comparing to today. In the last 30 days, there's only been one new one. So the other 2 have been hanging around, but as we'll see in a moment, some are going pending and some are closing. Our average price of one of these properties right now is $857,000, which is way less than $1,300,000 and $1,479,000 a year ago. But it's important to keep in mind that the number of units, the size of those units plays a lot into the average price. So right now, our average number of units is 2.33, and that translates here to 2694 of square feet. So if we look at this on a price per unit basis, we are at a much lower price, 377 to 78, than we were before at 500,000 the previous couple times. But the size of the properties varies as well, and our average price per square foot is $320, whereas previously we had $459 a square foot and $428 a square foot. So the properties that are currently on the market are more maybe average. You know, some of these other ones might be a little bit more exceptional pricing or quality, or well, you know, for instance, our report doesn't show the average construction date. So if the average date of construction in the previous months was, you know, say 2010, and today's average construction date in this report maybe is 1990. Obviously, that's going to have a big difference on the cost per square foot, the price per square foot. Right now, the average days on market for these properties is 95 days on market, which is actually very similar to what the average days on market were the last couple times that we show the report here in this sheet. I do this report just about every month, and one of the interesting things I always get to do is pick what are the other 2 months we want to compare to, and I try to change that up a little bit to give ourselves some variety of perspective as we look backwards. So we have basically a year back here, and then just earlier this year, so that we have some things to compare to. In terms of pending properties, there are 3 in this category that are currently pending. So we have the same number that are active as our pending. And that number 3 is what it was back in May, but a year ago it was 0 properties pending. So I like to see pending. Pending is good. That means things are moving through the system, and that's what we want to see. I'm also going to jump down here to closed, and then we'll come back and talk about expired, withdrawn, and canceled listings. So in the last 180 days, or 6 months, in other words, 6 of these properties in this category have closed. That is more than 4 the last couple times shown in this report. So again, I like to see the flow of something is active, then it becomes pending, and then it gets closed. That's the flow that we want to see. And the average property here of these 6 that did close closed in 104 days. So our active properties on market right now are at 95 days, and the average ones that close were at 104 days, which it kind of suggests that if the pricing on these current properties is realistic, they should go pending pretty shortly and start moving towards closing themselves as well. The average price of a sold property that closed was $889,000, which is really not too different than the average price we have listed right now of $857. That's 2 2/3 average number of units, 2874. So let's have a look at this number, 360,000 is the average price per unit that on a closed basis and an average price per square foot of $320. So let's take a look here. Our average property that's on the market right now is 377 per door. And what is working here in the closed market is 360. Well, I'm encouraged by this because those numbers are not too far off from each other. And the average price per square foot of what's active and what closed is exactly the same. I'm really glad to see that because that means that by and large, these properties here that are active are not too far off in terms of the pricing and whatnot that they have. So that is an encouraging sign to me. If we look backwards, the average price per square foot of what's closed in the last 6 months is $320, whereas in May, the 6 months prior to that, it was 344. That's not too terribly different, but those went really, really quickly at 22 days. And if we look back a year, we had a really high price per square foot of $514, and that took 72 days to get those done. So we are seeing what something that personally I'm overall encouraged by, which is on the west side, while there isn't a lot of volume, things are getting listed. They're ultimately going pending and they are getting closed. And so I like to see that. The last thing I like to look at also is how many properties in the last 6 months have been taken off the market, but unsuccessfully, like without having sold. They were taken off the market through expirations of listing agreements, canceled listing agreements, or withdrawn, which is sort of like a temporary taking off the market. And the answer is in the last 6 months, then we've had three of those instances where it was seven when I looked at this number in May, and it was two before that. So I'm really glad to see that there are more that are closing than that are being taken off the market unsuccessfully. So that's what's going on the overall small data side on the west side of Bend. There just aren't thousands of these types of properties. There's, dozens of these types of properties. So our overall data set is small, but the numbers are still meaningful and still helpful to take a look at so that we know what's happening in the market. What's not an average statistic is your own unique property. So whenever the time comes that you would like to talk to me directly about your specific property, the specific pricing of it, your specific objectives for buying it or selling it, then please reach out to me anytime. You can reach me via phone at 503-869-7303, Portland number, but I am here in Bend. And you can email me anytime, jeff@oregonplex.com, or check out my website at that address too. I will see you in the next market report video. Take care.